Hello, hello, world. What's going on? It's your boy Tommy on the spot. Today is Sunday, October the 28th. My gosh, time is flying right by. October the 28th. It is WWE Evolution Sunday. Thank you so much for checking me out here on the Wrestling Potpourri. It's great to be on here with you guys, chatting all things WWE Evolution pay-per-view. We're going to get into the show. I'm actually heading to the show in just a couple of hours. My wife and I, as well as my brother-in-law, all heading to the show. Should be a lot of fun, and yeah, it should be awesome. So we're excited to talk with you guys here and break down the show, break down all of the big matches, the winners, the losers, and everything going on. And we're gonna get into all of it. So should be a lot of fun. This is a huge night for women's wrestling here. I'm just kind of pulling up the live chat function here. If you guys are around, make sure you check out. You guys can join in on the live chat. I have the feature up here, and glad to chat with each one of you guys. So as far as the WWE Evolution show goes, I know a lot of people, some people have like mixed feelings about the show. I know some people aren't the most stoked about the build for the show, as I do have the Jets' pathetic performance against the Bears on right here behind me. But I don't think any of you guys will hear that because we went out and we have this this handy-dandy microphone that kind of is noise canceling of all surrounding noise. So I know that this show was announced in July, and now here we are, end of October, and the build certainly, from certain aspects of things, could have been a little bit better. Number one, other than Becky Lynch and Charlotte, and to a lesser extent, Ronda Rousey and Nikki Bella. I think a couple of the matches could have certainly been a little bit better. That being said, I mean, the build at least could have been a little bit better. That said, though, honestly, I think this is we can't lose sight of the fact how awesome this is, that an entire show is being dedicated to women's wrestling. Every match on the show will include, strictly the women's superstars of WWE, and it just is a testament to how far the women have come. These matches have come. I remember it wasn't all that long ago when the Divas would have a very small portion on the show. They'd have like every holiday it would be like a Santa's Little Helper match, or Thanksgiving food fight match, or some silly evening gown match, bra and panties match, all the silliness that was a part of the times. And I think people need to realize that certainly during the Attitude Era, when you had your Sable, you had your Sunny, and a couple of different people like that, the sex appeal was a huge part of WWE. It was a really big part of the show, just as much as the violence was, just as much as the swearing, the DX suck it, the over-the-top, things with Austin and McMahon. All of that was happening, but at the same time, the women were a huge part of that show. If you look back, I mean, right there with those TV Guide covers, Sable was right there with Stone Cold Steve Austin. So it was a sign of the times. But then I think in the early 2000s, they started to drift away from that. A lot of people always credit Trish Stratus and Lita, and rightfully so, with kind of changing that landscape. But they had a ton of really good performers back then. You had Molly Holly, who was severely underrated. You had Ivory, who was underrated. You had Victoria, Jazz, whole bunch of the women on the roster who were really good in the ring. And then I think like mid-2000s, after Trish retired, they kind of took a bit of a step back. You look back, and no disrespect to these women, but I remember Ashley Mazzaro having a match on WrestleMania simply because that was the only women's match, simply because of the fact that she was in Playboy. Or women were left off WrestleMania entirely. Like the entire women's roster didn't have a representation. I believe it was, I want to say WrestleMania 25 or one of those WrestleManias in there. There was no women's match at all. And people weren't even complaining about it. I remember being at a house show, and the woman would come on, and then people would flood to the restrooms. And it was just in the presentation of how the women were represented. They weren't taken very seriously. Thankfully, that's all changed. And a lot of people credit that with NXT, rightfully so, the women's evolution, all of that. But I actually credited the beginning of it, as silly as this may seem, with Total Divas and the start of Total Divas. And even though I also say Total Divas was one of these deals where they really kind of promoted that, your first chance to really see the wrestlers in their private lives and see some of that backstage experience. And I thought that was a really cool aspect of it. And it also did wonders for the careers of, to a lesser extent, Daniel Bryan and John Cena, but certainly guys like The Usos who were on that, the Usos really weren't, they were just starting to gain a little popularity when Total Divas launched, and then that just went up to the next level when people saw how awesome Jimmy Uso was as a human being. So that Total Divas is really, in my opinion, where it kind of started, that 2013. If for no other reason, also then you had a lot of women fans who really became a part of the show. Now, I know there's plenty of fans who became interested in wrestling because of wrestling, and that's great, and then they've been fans for a really long period of time. That being said, though, I can tell you right now, my wife, while being a casual fan growing up, once Total Divas started, that was really something that she just became really, really excited about, and started to become much more interested in women's wrestling and wrestling in general. So I'll always hold a place in you know, near and dear to my heart, I guess, for Total Divas. Because then what happened was, as you were a fan of Total Divas back then, 2013, you'd watch the show and you see AJ Lee doing her thing. And AJ Lee was great. AJ Lee, Caitlyn, the women who were wrestling there, they did have some really talented women who were having great matches. Obviously, Natty Neidhart, different things like that. So you'd be able to go back and then you'd watch the show in conjunction with Total Divas and be like, these women are really great. And then it led to, you know, your Charlotte, your Becky, your Bayley, your Sasha Banks, all of the women's revolution there from NXT, and it's just kind of exploded to another level. Obviously, Ember Moon and Asuka need to be included in that discussion as well. So that leads to tonight. It's a huge show, WWE Evolution. I'm really excited for it personally. It's not only a history-making night for women's wrestling, not only a history-making night for the wrestling business in general, something that should have happened a long, long time ago. I mean, you look at, you know, WNBA has been around since the 90s, and you look at other opportunities that women have had throughout sports. So it's great to see WWE embracing this. Got to look at companies like Shimmer, an independent wrestling organization all about women. And they've been around for a number of years and really kind of gave women that platform prior to the start, way before the Women's Revolution was even thought of. So, but tonight WWE is they're continuing to take that next step. They're continuing to evolve, and I guess that's what Evolution is all about. It's been a fun week. It's been a fun week around here. Obviously, Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, they were on Z100's Morning Zoo, and they were kind of talking about things, and it had some really nice things to say about Roman Reigns as well, and how his plan, and you know, the Wrestling Potpourri, we kind of talk about everything, so I'm going to get to the preview fully and the predictions for the WWE Evolution show. But it's important to, I think, also mention that you know, there's going to be people that when it comes to, you know, we want to just quickly touch on Roman Reigns. One of the things I thought was really interesting, Triple H had said that Roman's plan was actually to go through his entire career and never reveal that he was battling with leukemia until he retired. And at that moment, let everyone know this is what he was dealing with, and kind of act as a inspiration to folks and say, hey, if I can go out there and do it, so can you. And that I thought was really, really interesting, really cool. It's been a sad week from that perspective. But hopefully folks are embracing the show tonight. I think it should be fun. It's going to be at the Nassau Coliseum, my favorite venue. I know people hate and dog on the Nassau Coliseum. For me, there's so much history there. There's so much. I grew up right here in Queens, and so it's not too far away from Long Island, not too far away from the Nassau Coliseum. I'm excited for that. And this is where I went to my very first pay-per-view, SummerSlam 2002, made my first pay-per-view over there. I went to school at Hofstra University just up the road, and I'd always park my car at Hofstra University and then walk down Hempstead Turnpike with my friends. Most of the time, I'd head there around 12 noon, and I'd get tickets for shows at Nassau Coliseum, like in the middle of the day at like 12 noon, 1 o'clock, and all the wrestlers would be arriving to the arena just right from, because the Marriott Marquis is like right across the street there. That's where a lot of the wrestlers stay, right across like the corridor, so to speak. So they'd cross the street, they'd do their thing, and I always thought I thought it was cool. I always got a big kick out of that. I'd go usually get my tickets at that point, and I'd see them coming across. So the building has a lot of you know, fun for me. I then would walk over there after classes and go see shows. It was the place where the wrestlers leave and enter the building is really something that is open, and a lot of people see it, and so a lot of people do usually go over there and kind of see where everything is. And so because of that, I think that a lot of people, you know, Nassau Coliseum always has held a special place in my heart, and it's one of the reasons I'm really excited to head to the show tonight. I'll be there, and I was at the last Nassau show that they did many years ago when they closed down the building, and then the return there a couple of years later, and it's always great to go back to Nassau Coliseum and to the Long Island area. So it's cool that such a historic show is going to be held at Nassau Coliseum. All right, so let's get into the show tonight. I'm going to go ahead and read you guys my predictions for each and every match on the show. Show starts here, it says here at 6:30. I'm assuming that's pre-show. Main card proper will be underway at going to be at 7 o'clock live on the WWE Network. And I'm assuming they'll be done by 10. I can't imagine it going too much longer than that. Could be 11, but there's not that many matches on the show. Let's get into it. There was a rumor that I believe started a while back that they were doing a UK women's title match on the show featuring Rhea Ripley. That I don't see being promoted anywhere, certainly on the main card. Hopefully it'll be added there because I think Rhea Ripley's a badass, and I'd love to see it personally. But who knows? So right now, the main thing of the show is going to be the start of this is going to be the Battle Royal. I know a lot of people aren't thrilled about this because really, let's count how many matches here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 matches on the show. Could have had 1 or 2 more. Certainly could have had something a little more for Asuka. I would have loved to have seen Asuka and Ember Moon added to the show. Match with them. Could have done something with Nia Jax and so maybe the Iconics. They could have been on the show. Certainly some of these women who are returning for the show could have been featured more. Carmella deserved a spot on the show. Naomi deserved a spot on the show. Instead, they're all in the Battle Royal. I understand that kind of Battle Royals have almost become something that fans aren't trained to really take all that seriously because of the Women's Battle Royal and the Men Battle Royal on WrestleMania taking place prior to the show. But this should be on main show proper. Let's go through it. These are the women that are announced for that match. Tamina Snuka, Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, the Iconics, Ember Moon, Alicia Fox no longer in that match. I'll explain why in a sec. Nia Jax, Dana Brooke, Asuka, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Carmella, Lana, Naomi, Tori Wilson will be returning, Michelle McCool, Medusa, who seems like she hasn't been around. I feel like Medusa hasn't had a part of a match, at least for a real long period of time. So Medusa back in that match. The aforementioned Molly Holly, Ivory, Kelly, Maria Kanellis. Personally speaking, I think this has got to be Asuka. This is their opportunity. Either it's Asuka or it's Naomi. And then if it is Naomi, I think then Asuka destroys her after the match and turns heel, and then you kind of take it from there. I think that Asuka right now, if you saw the mixed match challenge, she's palling around with Naomi, jumping up in the air, and they're both shimmying and doing a whole bunch of silliness. It's not what you want out of Asuka, at least, and it's certainly not what I want out of Asuka, and it's certainly something that I think they could do a lot more with Asuka than what they've been doing, and hopefully they turn her heel and build her back up. So I do predict that either she wins or she destroys whoever does win. You could see something kind of nice even where maybe somebody like Michelle McCool wins that match. And if Michelle McCool wins, then she gets destroyed afterwards or something to that extent. Something else I could also see happening is Beth Phoenix is going to be doing commentary for this match. I'm going to get into where I could see Beth Phoenix figuring into this match, but it really would be cool to see her get a spot in there against Nia Jax. Like they were building that up at the Rumble and it never really followed up on it. So when they first announced Evolution, I thought, man, Nia Jax, Beth Phoenix, that should be on the show, but it hasn't happened. So let's see. But for my official prediction, I'll go with Asuka to start. Next up is Lo Shirai against Toni Storm, Mae Young Classic. If you have not watched the Mae Young Classic, you've severely been missing out. Every single show has been awesome. These matches have been fantastic, and it all comes down tonight. Toni Storm against Lo Shirai. This should be match of the night or close to it. Do not sleep on this match. If you've missed the Mae Young Classic, this is your opportunity to check it out. And these guys are great. And hopefully if you do check it out, you'll go back and you'll watch all the other episodes of the Mae Young Classic. It's been awesome this year. It's been awesome both years. I feel like this year's even been a little bit better because of the fact that they kind of built it up week after week after week, and you had to tune in each week to see where it was going next. I personally, for a wrestling show, prefer that over the blocks that they kind of did, the binge watching that they promoted the last time around. This is great. I do think Toni Storm takes this tonight. I just have a feeling that they're really going to be building up Toni Storm, and I mean, I think both women will be featured prominently in NXT. And then you think about it with them with with Shayna Baszler and with Kyra Zane and with Nikki Cross and all the women down in NXT. The women's division in NXT suddenly is just like so freaking deep and really good stuff. And I'm glad to see some of the women like Mia Yim getting contracts out of the Mae Young Classic because it's just been great. I'm looking forward to that match right up there with a couple of the other ones that I'll get into in a sec, but that should be a great match. All right, moving right along. The aforementioned Kyra Zane defending the NXT Women's Championship against Shayna Baszler. I do not see Shayna Baszler as long for NXT, if I'm being honest. I think she's coming up to the main roster sooner rather than later, so I don't think that Shayna is going to win the match tonight. And I will say, I think there's an opportunity for Shayna to win the match tonight. It would be 0-3 for her if she loses to Kyra again. A little swig of coffee. I mean, hey, some people are just waking up now, right? What is it, 3:30 in the afternoon? But as my Jets continue to make me disgusted, you know how I hate them. But in any event, I think that Toni Storm, I think Kyra is going to retain the title because I think there's a lot of more people for her to take on. I think Shayna's coming up to the main roster sooner rather than later. Would not be shocked to see some sort of interaction between Shayna and Ronda Rousey tonight. Be super cool if Shayna came out to even up the odds for Ronda, and I'm just excited. Shayna's my girl. She's my favorite on the entire roster. I think people were hating on her for no reason at all. I think that she's presented as a legitimate athlete, a complete badass. I'm rooting for her, but I could see Kyrie holding on to the title there tonight. Moving right along, I'm glad that these women all got a shot on the show. I was very nervous when no match was announced for the Riott Squad, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Natalya. I felt like all of them needed a spot on the show. Thankfully, they do have a spot. It is a 6-man woman tag, and you know, it should be a lot of fun. It should be good, and I expect the Riott Squad to get the win there. Again, I don't think there's a lot that's going to be coming down the pike for Sasha and Bayley as a tag team. Riott Squad as a group, I think, are great. I think they continue to get better each and every week. And so with that being said, I'm going to give the nod to the Riott Squad. I think the Riott Squad win this match. And I would not be shocked to see the end of Sasha and Bayley after this. And maybe both of them then getting an opportunity to move up the card. I think both of them are such big cogs for WWE. Both of them are such marketable characters. Both of them deserve a lot more than what they've been getting, I feel like, on the main roster, and should be profiled a lot more. So I think moving forward, they'll get that opportunity. But it's always been, when you have the logic has always been when a tag team is going up against 3 top people, the tag team wins because they have that tag team chemistry. And so the Riott Squad should get the win there. There isn't a rumor that Stephanie McMahon is making a big announcement tonight. And so I'm very interested to see. My prediction there would be that Stephanie McMahon will announce that there's going to be women's tag team titles that will be on the show. And if that's the case, I wouldn't be shocked to see that match, that 6-woman tag that we just mentioned, Riott Squad, Sasha, Bayley, Natalya, turn into some sort of spin-off of that tag title match. Maybe that's where Beth Phoenix gets added to it, and they do the best friends reuniting and put Beth Phoenix with Natalya against Sasha and Bayley, and 2 of the Riott Squad to do a tag title triple threat. That'll be cool. So let's see kind of where they go from there. Next up, Trish Stratus and Lita against Mickie James and Alicia Fox. This is a bit of a bummer. They've taken 2 matches here. It was supposed to be Trish Stratus against Alexa Bliss and Lita against Mickie James. For whatever reason, maybe it's just that Lita and Trish have not had matches on WWE television in quite some time. It's many years that they've had singles matches on the show. So maybe they were just worried about ring rust or something and thought by making it a tag match, putting them together, the best friends, Trish Stratus and Lita, going up against Mickie James and Alexa Bliss. They thought maybe that would add to something a little bit more interesting and really kind of have all parties involved, the better chance for the better match. And then Alexa Bliss got hurt, unfortunately, suffered a concussion. She's not cleared to wrestle this evening. So if you're going to that show expecting to see Alexa Bliss, I'm sure she'll be there. She will not be in the ring, though. She'll probably be on the outside, and instead will be taking her place will be Alicia Fox. Alicia Fox has been there a really long period of time, over 10 years. She's done well. It's great to see her get an opportunity in such a high-profile match on the show. I know people aren't thrilled that Alexa's out, but hey, you got to roll with the punches. It's good to see Alicia get this opportunity, and I expect that Alicia's there more so to take the pinfall than anything else. I expect Trish and Lita to retain. Now, one thing that's interesting about this match, Survivor Series is 3 weeks from today. That's right. Believe it or not, 3 weeks from today, WWE Survivor Series 2018, Los Angeles. Get ready for it. Get stoked. We're 3 weeks away. I could easily see this kind of breaking down into a big melee and have 10 women come in there. You already have Alexa in there. Alexa jumps in there. And then maybe a couple, maybe the Iconics then run down. They jump in there as well. And then Trish and Lita are in there, and some of the other legends like maybe Beth Phoenix or Michelle McCool or Tori Wilson, whoever else is there, Molly Holly. They all come down, and you set up a big Survivor Series 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series match between the women of the Legends, the women representing the Legends. You can even do something with the Hall of Fame if Jacqueline and Ivory are there. Make it all Hall of Famers, and going up against the current crop of talent. And make it a traditional Survivor Series match. You still boil down to Trish versus Alexa Bliss. So that is where I think that may end up going. It's only an additional 3 weeks. Why not spread it out? And that's, you're putting some big names on that show and putting a little bit behind that. Next up, you've got Ronda Rousey versus Nikki Bella. This might close the show. I actually wouldn't be too surprised if it did close the show. And I know people will be disappointed by that. But when you're talking to casual viewers, and a lot of my friends who have heard about this was going to be an all-women show and hadn't watched in years, they said, wow, all women's matches, those matches don't really get much play on TV. What is it going to be, a bunch of 3-minute matches? And I've explained that, no, the women are now getting much more of a revolution behind them, and they're getting much more of a focus behind them. And when I tell them that Ronda Rousey's there, it matters, and it's a big deal, and people are excited about it. And if you talk about mainstream, whether you love it or you hate it, Nikki Bella's right there. As I said weeks ago when this match was first announced, Nikki Bella is somebody that people know and people from a mainstream perspective know, and it makes sense for this match to be featured. I hope it's a co-main event. I hope that Ronda Rousey retains the title. I'm nervous as all hell that Nikki Bella is going to win that title. But hopefully the show ends, if this is where they're going with it, they're ending it with this, with Ronda holding up the belt. And as I said, with Shayna Baszler by her side, and wouldn't it be cool if Shayna were to win the belt? And then the NXT belt, Ronda would win the Raw Women's belt, and they both have the belts held high. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think that Ronda's going to find a way to win this belt match. And who knows, they might set up something for Survivor Series or thereafter with so many women being there. Could easily do something maybe with Charlotte and Ronda or Ronda and Becky and kind of end the show that way with both champions kind of facing off. Speaking of which, last woman standing, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair. It's been the best storyline of WWE going into the show. Many can make the argument, and I wouldn't blame you, if this is the best storyline WWE's had all year. It's been fantastic. These guys were best friends. Becky turns on Charlotte, but the crowd doesn't care because, let's be honest, we've all been in that situation where, we've been scratching and clawing and fighting our way and trying to do the best that we possibly can. And then because of something else that, something's already, that one last obstacle that's there, and you try to do things the right way, and then finally you snap and you just have had enough, so to speak. And so you've got people have been behind Becky. Becky feels like the character that people can really see kind of getting to that next level for WWE. Maybe like people have compared her to Stone Cold, like a female Stone Cold Steve Austin. Even the crowd was cheering her over Edge at SmackDown 1000. So people are really behind Becky. I hope they keep running with this. I'm going to predict Becky wins this match, but man, really feels like Charlotte's going to get the belt here. And I think people will be unhappy. So I hope they stick with Becky. I hope they stick with somebody who is the hot hand here and continue to build Becky Lynch up for many years to come. So just to kind of recap here, Ronda Rousey, Nikki Bella. I think Ronda Rousey retains. Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair. I'm going to say Becky Lynch and cross fingers that she retains. Trish Stratus and Lita over Mickie James and Alicia Fox. The Riott Squad over Sasha, Bayley, and Natalya. I have Kyra Zane retaining over Shayna Baszler. I have Toni Storm winning the Mae Young Classic. And I have Asuka winning the Battle Royal. Those are my predictions for the show. What are your predictions? Make sure you let me know in the comment section below. Also, I will be back either later tonight, on the way home, after the show, as we're walking in the car. God knows where we'll be, but we will be back on here with a little bit of a WWE Evolution recap review. And enjoy the show if you're going and you happen to see us walk by. Give us a hello. And until next time, everybody, this has been Tommy on the Spot. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you again real soon on the Wrestling Potpourri and on the Watchalong Wrestling Podcast. Feel free to follow along at WatchWrestlePod. I'll be putting up some photos from the venue tonight, as well as you can follow me personally at Tommy on the Spot. Till then, have a great night, everybody. Take care and enjoy WWE Evolution.